I'm going to share with you a brief history of Title IX and a brief history of gender equity. And if you think it's going to be like any other history lesson you've had, I'm on vacation too. Title IX was passed in 1972, and it's administered by the Federal Office for Civil Rights. It's about prohibiting sex discrimination in educational institutions that receive federal dollars, and trust me, we all do, even if it's a tax break. It applies to all educational institutions, public and private, charter and religious-based, because to have an exemption is almost impossible. And the reason it exists is to make sure that all students, and in our case athletes, but Title IX is much broader than athletics, have equal opportunity. It passed because of informal advocacy. People like you who made a difference by taking some risks. And there are precedent-setting court cases that we're going to take a look at. No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subject to discrimination under any educational program or activity receiving federal assistance. Title IX covers all of these aspects, and you'll notice athletics, and I have them listed, I believe, alphabetically, is one of many issues that impact our schools. Your access to higher education, career education, opportunities for pregnant and parenting teens, employment of faculty, coaches, staff, and support personnel, the learning environment that's at the school. How does it feel to be a female? What's it like to be a male in this school? Issues in math, science, engineering, and technology, sexual harassment. These kinds of things are all governed by a law called Title IX. Standardized testing. What the SATs and the other reading exams show give us information about you and your learning, and finally, access to technology. There are lots of stories that some of us could tell you what things were like then and what things were like now. I was an athlete and a basketball player at my school before Title IX passed. And you saw the photo of me. We didn't even have a team uniform. I was actually playing in cut-off jeans and a regular shirt. I had no opportunity to go to college on any kind of scholarship because most colleges and universities didn't have varsity programs for girls or women. And even the female coach, and I'll give you my worst story, I was a rover, which meant I got to cover the whole court. But those days in basketball, thanks Bob, there were 6 players on a team. 2 got the forwards, 2 got guards, and then 2 rovers. We were only able to bounce the ball 3 times. We didn't even call it dribbling. So we want you to avoid some misperceptions about Title IX. Really hear these. First of all, Title IX is not about raising the level of one program and not taking away or tearing down other things. So Title IX doesn't say, let's make basketball everything at our school and disappear all the other sports. We also want to avoid an attitude that says only major sports matter, which typically in high schools in the United States are football and men's basketball. We want to make sure that every child has an opportunity to participate in some sport with a skill. And finally, females seek and deserve the same benefits from athletics that males do. This means we have to break down gender stereotypes across the entire school campus. There are 3 conditions of compliance. We look at participation. How many kids are out there? And of those kids, how many are male and how many are female? Then we look at athletic financial assistance. What monies are available for their participation? And finally, when you are an athlete, how are you treated? Do you get to go in a big fancy air-conditioned bus? Or are you always driven in vans or in parents' cars? Uh-oh, I think we have some compliance issues. Imagine this, your school offers freshman, JV, and varsity teams for all boys sports, but only JV and varsity teams for girls. Is this a violation of Title IX? If you have a varsity football team, that's usually about how many male athletes? About 60. I hope somebody can do math. Then you have a JV football team, that's about how many athletes? Yeah, that's another 60. So we have a grand total of 120. Fabulous. Now, because those are 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and they're really big, we don't want those little squirrely 9th graders who haven't grown yet to play with those big guys. So we're also going to have a freshman team. And how many 9th graders are going to be there? Another 60 or so, if we have that much clothing in the town. So we've already got about 180 males playing football during the fall. Are there that many opportunities for women in soccer? Volleyball? Probably not. So we might have some problems here, but we can't answer until we do the research. Well, a parent made a formal request and asked the athletic director with a petition for 30 girls if there could be a team for females. And the parent and student advocacy worked. The high school created a varsity golf team for girls and actually hired a coach. A school spends a different amount of money on sports for females and males. Is that a violation of Title IX? Title IX is not about how much money has been spent. It's about how the money is spent. So if every year the boys basketball team gets brand new uniforms, yeah, go ahead and groan with me. It makes me feel like it's Sunday morning. They all get brand new uniforms, and at the end of every game, those uniforms get laundered professionally. And then they have warm-up suits, indoor, outdoor, leather balls, every place you look. And they get to play in the big gym, and the lights go on. And the girls don't have any of that. It's how the money is spent. So let's look at athletic financial assistance. There is no funding requirement, but when the end result of the way we spend money has to do with a gender inequity, then you are probably out of compliance with the law. I hope if you have some good stories that you will share them with us over the course of this week, because we really want to hear them. They're the ones that keep us inspired. This may surprise the coaches a lot. In the 37 years since Title IX, no one has really found a school in total compliance with the law. Yet no school has ever lost federal funding for breaking the law. According to the law, the treatment of benefits for boys and girls has to be comparable. These three issues, scholarships, medical training and services, and tutoring, typically happen more in colleges than in high schools. But if the boys at your high school, if someone is funding tutoring for them and not funding tutoring for you, then that would be an inequity and a problem. First thing is scheduling. When do you get to play? Do you get the same quality time in the gym for practices as the boys? No. Oh, I'm only at number 1. We're never going to make it through this list. Yeah, it's when you get to practice. It's also when you get to play. For example, if the girls are playing at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday and the boys are playing at 8 o'clock in the evening on Friday, and those times are not flip-flopped the following week, then that would be inequitable. Because one of the reasons people don't tend to show up at your games is other people like us are working and can't get there. So the issue about practice times, the length of the seasons, when the games are scheduled, all of those things are part of Title IX.